There are some days I really love my job, and today is one of those days because it incorporates one of my passions, which is running. Yeah, I'm a trail runner, but I know there are many different types of runners and different types of fitnesses. And today I have a fantastic guest who is a nutritional therapist. Her name is Nicola Sainty. Thank you very much. You are from ReviveActive, and we have some beautiful products here.
That's right.
And what I can say to you is that it's an absolute blessing to have you here.
Thank you.
Simply because it's a minefield.
Absolutely.
Of getting the right ones. But just a little bit about you now. What is your role within ReviveActive?
Well, I'm a nutritional therapist as well by trade, and so I'm the nutritional therapist over at ReviveActive, and I'm also responsible for their education and training, and that would be internally and outward facing as well for consumers to, like you say, Emily, help them along in terms of, what might be good for them and help support them with their health.
So a little bit more about the company itself. How did it sort of start, and what was the mission? What is the mission behind ReviveActive?
Sure. Well, ReviveActive was actually founded right back in 2011 by Dahi O'Connor, who was an Irishman, and he had a real passion, and he was an entrepreneur, to bring the best products to support the health and well-being of others. And so that ethos has really driven us through, obviously, the years as we've grown. And we really go back to our 3 pillars, which is the power of the supplements. They've got to have results for people. Mm-hmm. They've got to have a positive effect on people's lives. So we have the power, the positivity, and then purity, because having a nice supplement with active ingredients without any of the nasties is one of our core foundational principles.
I also like that you and your products have a real focus on inclusive health.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And so we start right from children age 4, and we go through to adolescence, into adulthood, and through then to our golden years. And so very inclusive for all the family. And then what we would also do is also support specific life phases. So for instance, maybe that menopausal transitional phase.
Yeah, I know that one very well.
Me too. I'm in the throes of it right now, Emily, myself. So I think it's great because we can support people right through family and growing into these specific phases of life, but also as well, we've got targeted products where if people are suffering maybe a joint issue, or maybe they're struggling with sleep and things like this, then we've also got targeted products for that as well.
What do you think sets your products apart from others on the market?
It's a great question, and because there's so many out there, isn't there? There's hundreds, if not thousands of brands now. It's how do you pick out one that's going to be good for you? And so really the ethos again behind ours is we are always working with those 3 Ps, the power, the purity, and the positivity when we bring something to market. So everything that we do has got to tick those boxes. And what we do are comprehensive supplements. And so by comprehensive, if I just take our ReviveActive flagship product, for instance, we've got 26 active ingredients in there, no nasties whatsoever. So it's a super powerful product, which we like to say then the power of one.
And that's what I liked, actually, because I noticed from an outsider just looking in that the company seems to be very passionate about clean ingredients.
For sure, yeah. And that's the full thing. We look at active ingredients, premium ingredients without any of the nasties. And so for an example, we've got 2, if you like, energy focused supplements. There's no caffeine in there whatsoever, no fillers, no binders. And that's super important because a lot of energy products, as we know, may put caffeine or stimulants in to obviously give people that, if you like, that false lift. But we know that caffeine, even if we like caffeine, it will give us a bit of a high, and then the low has got to absolutely, it's got to follow. So yeah, for sure. So we are super passionate about that in helping elevate energy where it's needed without that crash.
The other thing that I want to touch upon, and it's something that my own little running tribe has spoken about, is they will show me a product and they'll say, Emily, is this good? I saw this on Facebook. I saw this on this marketplace.
Yeah.
Should I buy it? We are living in an age where there are lots of bogus products about. What is it that people should be looking for?
Yeah, so another brilliant question, because like we've just said, it's some of it can be marketing and they can kind of give you those headlines, but that might not quite translate to what's actually in the product. And so what we really need to be looking for is power, is what I would say. And so how much of something is in there? Is it going to give us the results that we need? And I can give you a specific example of that in a second. And then we'd also be looking at the format of ingredients. So we can get very cheap forms sometimes of a particular ingredient, and then we can get the premium forms. And so it's really trying to educate yourself a little bit about different formats. And just to give a quick example here, is you can get magnesium in lots of different forms. Yeah. And some are much better tolerated, much more better absorbed than others. And then some are much cheaper and may not be well absorbed, and then may actually have a laxative effect at higher dosages.
Exactly, because of the different types. And they all do, like the magnesium, like you said, the glycinates to, all the other ones are like, they're all different, chelated, whatever. You have got to know which one you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to really look at the form. And I think that goes back to then, if a supplement looks too cheap, then perhaps it is because you're using the cheaper format of ingredients. And so even if you think that at first perception that might be better value than the product next door to it, when actually turn it over, is that product going to give you what you're looking for? Is it going to give you what you need? Because if it's not got the right amounts in there, it's not got the right format, and then particularly for us, we always work with synergies. So we're always looking at synergies and how one nutrient would amplify the next nutrient. And so how they would all work together to really give you those results. And so I think you've got to look at the detail, but then you've got to home out and then also look at the bigger picture. Is this going to deliver what I need it to deliver? And to just give you another example as well, I was in a high street store a couple of weeks back, and there was a product on there that said CoQ10 right on the front of the pack. So I thought, oh, CoQ10, that's an expensive ingredient, but this looks a really cheap price. So I actually picked up the box and turned it around. There was 10 milligrams of CoQ10 in there, 10 milligrams. And so to give you an example, in our ReviveActive product, we've got 150 milligrams.
What would 10 do?
Exactly, because the scientific studies are on between 100 and 200 milligrams. So we always go to the science for an efficacious dosage. And so sometimes you've got to look behind the initial message and just really dig in.
So do you think then they're actually using like these small doses just so that they can put it on a packet?
For sure.
That's marketing though, isn't it?
It is marketing, yeah.
Do you think that things should be better regulated in this field?
Yes, I mean, the regulations have definitely got tighter and tighter over the years, but I still think there's some way to go. I mean, if you look sometimes at some things that might get populated onto our social media feed, or like these one-hit wonders and this click-through funnel and this big headline around, take this, you'll lose weight, take this, this'll happen.
Yeah.
Very, very extravagant claims there. And obviously in the supplement world, we know that we can't make claims. And so I think it's looking behind the curtain, and as excited as it can seem at that time when you're thinking, oh, that's my problem. And especially in the world of AI now, knows what your problems are. And so then you get the marketing targeted. I think it's almost think about it. That might be your problem, but is this really going to help? Because there's a lot of other things we need to do as well as supplementation to help, obviously, amend that problem and start to get our health and well-being back up to optimal as well.
The other thing I would say is, again, in my little tribe, they are a select, beautiful little running bunch. And they say, I've tried this for a couple of days. It's not worked. It's like you do have to let these things get into the body a bit, don't you?
Definitely. And that's the key thing with supplementation, because supplementation, really, for me, you're going to give it a couple of months, a few months. So I'll be saying 1 to 3, because ultimately it would depend how depleted perhaps we are in nutrition, or perhaps, if we're not that well in our health, perhaps how quickly we're burning through nutrients. So obviously we've got a running audience that are burning through the nutrients at the speed of light. And so it's always that repletion. And so we've got to think a bit longer term about repleting those base nutrients. And of course, then we're bringing age as a factor as well. And so you've got stacking factors that would obviously then determine might be how long we would see kind of results and uplift. But certainly I would expect kind of after a month, people start feeling a little bit more better in what they're trying to support. And then I would say months 2 and 3, again, elevating again.
I think one of the things that I find useful, I know we can't make claims.
Yes.
But you can get some good sources of information and help. And I know that your company is really good with its socials and trying to get information out there.
Yes, yeah. And it's core to us because I think we have a responsibility as well to have that food first approach, because it is all about, you know, nutrition, health and wellness and all of those things that we will do that are crucial to us. And it's how do we then educate and support our audience, you know, by talking about certain nutritional aspects, maybe talking about certain nutrients. And also we do quite a lot of community-based work as well, you know, supporting local clubs and things like that. So we're out there in person as well as in digital format.
Yeah, because I read about this. It is quite interesting because you've got some real strong ties with the running community. It goes right from grassroots to elite.
Yes, yes.
And everything else in between.
That's it. And that's wonderful for us because we are at the heart of community. But then we do have elite athletes such as we've got Alicia McCorgan. Wonderful runner.
Isn't she just
wonderful, on fire. She's wonderful. And she's actually worked with us the last 3 years, but she found us because we actually do a pro sports range as well. So for those elite athletes, we've actually got the pro sports range. And so she found us and she just loved the results of our products. And so that's how it became more of a collaboration as well over the last few years. We've done some live events with her, digital events, and then I think we've got one coming up in a couple of months as well.
I think as well, it's great that I know that we love our running, don't we? But you do many other things with other elites as well. What is this about GB orienteering and climbing?
Yes, yeah, it's absolutely wonderful to be involved in this myriad of sports. And so, yeah, the GB orienteering, I mean, wonderful. And I have to take my hat off to those guys because, you know, I can jog. But I don't know if I can jog and think so quickly on my feet because, of course, it's all about mental, you know, agility as well as that physical ability with the orienteering. And so we've supported some of those athletes as well over the past 2 years and actually supported their community with some webinars and educational materials, which has been wonderful. And then, yeah, the GB climbing squad. And I think they actually brought them a couple of medals, which is wonderful for us. So we've been working with them since last year.
Now, talking of awards.
Yes.
I think I counted around about 7. The list is growing for you in the last year. Everything from Marie Claire Awards to women's running. Yeah. That's some achievement.
It really is. And it's a great moment for the team, obviously, when we bring home an award, you know, real celebration for everybody from, you know, new product development through to production, to the marketing team, to the education team. It really is a celebration in the whole office because we are very proud of our products. And I think when that gets recognised by the users and they vote for us, you know, there's really no higher, you know, accolade that you can get from that. Is, you know, when people are actually voting for you and voting for that product. And, you know, Zest recently brought in 2 brilliant awards, winning Women's Running Magazine, as you said, and then Women's Fitness as well. And so personally, that's one of my favourites. And so I can see why it's won those awards.
Now, when you do have a celebration, do you actually have some cake in the office or are you all really, really healthy in there?
We do have cake. We do have biscuits.
See, that's my bit of reward. You know, like when I did my ultra, someone said to me, how did you celebrate? And it was cheesecake.
Oh, sounds delicious.
You know, but yeah. I think, well, if I've done that and been in the hills,
exactly,
you've got to celebrate your achievements, haven't you?
You have. And I think that's super important, isn't it? Else we just go on to the next thing without them small celebrations. Yeah. But I've got to say that, Emily, I am a chocoholic myself, so mine would be chocolate for sure.
Do you like the dark chocolate like I do?
Oh, I love it.
It's just divine, isn't it?
Yeah.
But talking about food, because I know we've got the supplements there and they have a role to play. But I'm a great believer that you have to have a whole wellness package.
Yes.
Where, you have to focus on just, especially for running.
Yeah.
I went out first off, did a little run, and then it sort of spiraled. But you soon quickly realise you need to fuel, you need to look after yourself.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing behind running, isn't there?
For definite. And like you say, you're expanding so much energy and you really are pounding to a degree out of those joints. And so I think it's having that foundational routine and absolute support in everyday nutrition. And really thinking about what you're fueling your body with on a day-to-day basis to ultimately, have that strong foundation and give it that fuel. But then I think also there's a crucial part in terms of post-recovery to give it back what you've expanded, and particularly when you think about joint health and things like this. So, the proteins, as all your audience will know, super important. But even thinking about like the nice gentle bone broths, especially when it's winter and cold weather, beautiful and healing with that, all of that collagen going in just to replenish and help replenish stores, and particularly more so kind of, as we might get a bit older as well, we just can't make enough as what we used to. So I think you've got that foundation and then you've got that post-recovery, those two key areas to support.
I also know that when you're running, it's not always in the nice weather, is it?
Exactly.
I think runners, and they say, I'm going to start this, and they say January, and I think, you might have wanted to start that sort of a little bit in the summer months to get yourself in a routine.
Definitely.
But it is a different animal, isn't it? Being out there, outdoors, and training.
It is. I think you've got to get over yourself, haven't you? It's that mental thing. It's like you just say about January. And it is tough to start in January, isn't it? Or February, because you're thinking it's freezing, it's dark, maybe it's frosty. I'm going to keep inside because it's lovely and warm. I've got the heating on. The dog can wait a bit longer or whatever it might be. And it's having that step outside. But I think once you get going and them endorphins get going and you're outside in nature, maybe you're listening to a podcast, maybe you've got your favourite music on, and then you feel that mental lift as well, I think. Your mood can elevate so easily. And particularly for me, Emily, I don't know how you feel, but getting out in that first light is really crucial. Because that can help us in many, many ways as well. Sleep better on the night as well as expanding
free
energy.
vitamin D.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And majority of us lack it. Is that not correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a crucial factor because we live in the Northern Hemisphere here in the UK. And so we know that in those winter months, we've got such short daylight hours. If we're not getting out and trying to maximise that, if we've got an office job, we're working 9 till 5 or working from home, staying in, we're not exposing ourselves to that natural sunlight where potentially we could extract some. So this is why we need to look maybe at vitamin D rich foods and then perhaps supplements to support ourselves, because vitamin D is just used in so many different ways by the body, hormonal health, immune system.
The other thing that I get told a lot is that I'm too old to be running. I did cross country as a young girl and hated it, believe it or not, and then started running in my 50s. So what bit of advice would you give to someone now who's saying, I'm too old to run?
I don't believe that you're never too old to do anything. And I think that if you don't do it now, then when? Because I'm a big one by not living by regrets. Because I always think, okay, so 20s in the future, if I'd have started that then, I'd be in a different place by now. And I think that's the same with running, is there's nothing to lose, but there's everything to gain. You're going to gain a new community.
Yep.
You're going to gain your health, probably mental mood and uplift as well. Getting back out there in daylight, exposing yourself to the sun, seeing the nature. If you can jog in nature, them deers early in the morning that you're going to come out that are magical, and you do miss those if you'd have stayed in bed. So many benefits.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? People think, especially women like me, going through menopause, and we just think, oh, well, that's flicked a switch, life's over. I would say, and I'm sure you would, Nicola, wrong.
Absolutely, bring it on. Because you feel a bit more empowered, I think, because you have these different life stages, don't you, as you move through life, because you've got different things happening at each one. But I think once you move in more into, you know, your late 40s, early 50s and 50s, you start to think, okay, what do I want? And you start to become much more clear on what you want and what you want your future now to be look like and shaped. And you start thinking about your health, you know, and how do I want to spend my time? And if running's my passion, I'm going to start running now. You know, all of those benefits I'm going to get, and what am I going to achieve? And all the like-minded people that are going to be there alongside me as well.
I think it's quite interesting because, you know, I had a few bumps in the road and wondered whether I was going to have to go down, like, you know, in having HRT and everything. And weirdly, started running and had some supplements, changed my diet, my nutrition. And it's all going reasonably okay. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. And it could well be that maybe running actually maybe would help people to lift their mood and things.
Totally agree. I absolutely agree. And we've got to think as well, we're increasing the cardiovascular fitness as well during that menopausal time. And also we're increasing the muscle density as well by, you know, obviously building those muscles, particularly if we're doing cross country and that hill running as well. And so we're doing all of the things in the physical body to really help you utilize the nutrients. And we know that if we're getting a bit of maybe muscle wastage and we're not repacking their muscles, then, you know, maybe we're not utilizing our blood glucose as quickly, and that can have many different effects which can manifest as menopausal symptoms and things like this. So it's all very intricately connected, and particularly as well in terms of that mental mood, because we know that anxiety can sometimes be an issue for some ladies as they go through this transitional phase, and maybe we'll worry a lot more, which then might translate into sleeping less. If we're sleeping less, we can be a bit more anxious, or we might eat sort of like those foods maybe all the time that we don't necessarily want to be eating all the time, you know, like those quick sugar foods, because we're so hungry, because we've not slept properly and our mood's flat.
And then the brain fog as well.
Exactly, then that kicks in. And so by clearing the brain, you know, building up the body and that resilience, it can help wonders going through that transitional phase and beyond.
Just talking to runners now, if you could suggest any form of type of nutrients that may actually optimize their performance. I know that maybe I'm not into competitions, but, you know, what if somebody's a bit younger than us gals and would like to, you know, enhance their performance? What would they eat and what would they do?
Well, I think for eating, again, I would always go back to eating a nice clean diet where you can. And of course, obviously the odd treats like your cakes, your biscuits and your chocolates, because it's not to burst anybody's, you know, fun bubble or anything like that. But I think if you can eat 80 to 90% really nicely clean, you know, and I'm talking about them clean proteins, you know, your chicken breast, you know, your really good oily fishes, the wild salmon to get that nutrition on the plate, and then filling the other half of the plate with what I would just call fibre. So you've got your leafy greens on there, maybe some sweet potatoes, you know, you've got your Mediterranean tray baked veg, so you've got the flavouring, and it's just a beautiful looking meal and it's so appetising. If that's your kind of baseline there, then that's absolutely wonderful. And like we spoke about, post-recovery, I'll be thinking, okay, maybe do I need a little bit more protein to pack back into those muscles, the bone broths, very gut healing, things like this. And obviously wonderful content of collagen. So I'd be thinking about things like that. In terms of fueling actual energy and helping that, I'd probably be thinking B vitamins and magnesium work in synergy together to really create that energy cycle and keep you fueled.
What's your personal wellness routine? Sorry to poke and find out, but you must have your own little routine where you get up in the morning and you think, right, this is what really sets me up for a day.
Absolutely, I do. And I feel awful if I go off that routine as well. And so I took the decision, it was a few years ago now, I'm probably going to say about 5 years ago now, to start getting up at 5 a.m. because I've got a teenage daughter now, but back then I was very conscious of trying to pack as much in before she got up, and you get into the whole, you know, getting ready, the breakfast, the school runs. And so I got into a habit of actually getting up at 5 a.m. I've got to say, when I first started doing that, it was painful, very, especially in winter, very painful. But actually, I just felt so much more productive. So for me, my best time is definitely in the morning. So I'm still very keen on getting up early. I will head off to the gym as soon as that opens and do a session at the gym, maybe 45 minutes. Then I'll take the dog straight out. So I'm getting that first light. in my eyes as well, which is super important. And obviously walking helps the muscles after we've been training. And then I'll try and start the day as well with a hot lemon water, because that really does help nice and cleanse, maybe that builds up of toxins, supports the liver. So that's how I would start the day. And then more recently, actually, I've just got into having a bath maybe 3 times a week instead of a shower, and popping some magnesium salts in there as well to really replenish and just help those muscles and just relax before bed.
Do you think we actually do take care of ourselves enough in the UK? Because it is quite a disaster zone. I look at the NHS, it's stretched.
Yeah.
And I know that they think or pump more into appointments, but I do think a little bit more has to be done with the fitness and nutrition industry to help it, don't you think?
For definite, I think that's a key point there. And I think it would always go back to me for education. Consumer education, public education, because I think with the knowledge we give empowerment. And if people are not sure what, maybe is best for the bodies or how their eating might be affecting the full physiology, and ultimately perhaps leading to, maybe like a chronic condition later down the road and the path, then how can they turn that wheel to stop that? So I do think that the education is absolutely key, about how we can eat, perhaps what are the best things to eat to support you. Is that foundational? Keep thinking about sleep. Sleep is just crucial to everything that we do. And if we're not getting that quality sleep and that quantity of sleep, we're on the back foot as soon as we wake up the next day.
Is that about 7 to 8 hours then, generally as a rule?
Yeah, I mean, the studies really say between 7 to 9 hours. And obviously for adolescents, we know that they sleep much more.
Oh, they do.
When do they wake up? But certainly for adults, that would kind of be the optimum. And it's about the amount, but the quality and the sleep routine. And so I've just mentioned that, 5 a.m. is my usual, but I will be in bed by 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. to be able to do that and replenish my own stores. And so that might not work for everybody. You might be a night owl, but it's about trying to get that quality and quantity, because the body is ultimately a clock. Yeah. And it recollaborates itself overnight. And especially for runners, this is when we're repairing tissue.
It is. It's so super important.
It's crucial. It's crucial. And some people say bodies are built overnight, but that's because we are repairing. We're getting rid of old dead cells. But our growth hormone is active as well during the early hours. And so the sleep for me, the nutrition are fundamental to our complete being.
And I would hope that maybe the government take a good hard look and start introducing, and I know that they have all this unsubstantiated claims.
Yes.
But it isn't that. There is research out there. Maybe we should be bringing this into schools earlier to inform kids of the nutritional benefits of things, rather than just dismissing it all and then them all having a problem in their 20s and 30s and onwards. So I think what your company's doing is absolutely fantastic. I love the approach. I love the education. And I think it's more, you're not just providing people supplements.
Yeah.
You're giving them a real good setup, I believe, for life, for wellness, and for good health. But we're just about to finish now, but I just wanted to know a little bit more about what's next for ReviveActive, because is there a tennis player or something that's getting involved with you?
That's right. So we're going to start working with a professional tennis player. We also work with Nim Fahy as well, the women's Liverpool football captain. We've also got lots of local community events coming up this year, which is tremendous for us, as well as the larger events as well, what we would attend. Yeah. But community really is at the heart of everything that we do, and things escalate on from that. So we've got lots of exciting events, which I hope that people will tune into us. We've got Instagram Lives with various guest speakers going on. So I think 2025 is going to be an exciting and a good year for us, as well as an exciting new product that's going to be coming out very shortly, one of my favourite nutrients.
I'm going to be really excited and tuning into that. And also, I believe there could be a world record wheelbarrow running attempt.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to give that one a wide berth. That's not going to be in my repertoire, Nicola. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, well, you are much more fitter than I am in terms of running for sure. So for me to try and jog leisurely with a wheelbarrow, it's definitely past my capability.
I ain't taking one up in the Lake District Hills. That's no way. Well, Nicola, thank you so much. You have been such a wonderful guest, enlightening. Even if you're not a runner, there is plenty for people to get their teeth into with this. And, if you're coming this way again, please pop in, because I'd love a part 2, because I know that I already have probably gone over time. And I could probably go over time another half an hour with you, to be honest with you. But no, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.